Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the fourth annual Russians Getting Sadder, The Saddening. I am Kat Raman. I had this idea a few years ago. I roped a bunch of lovely people into doing it, and they have somehow always managed to forgive me. And we're going to go back to it this time again, this time with Turgenev. Um, and so Ivan Turgenev is a little bit different than the other writers we've done, which have been Chekhov and Tolstoy. Turgenev was a lot better known in Europe. He may have been the best known Russian writer in Europe. Please excuse my cat, who is a horrible photobomber. And Turgenev was kind of very much the most Western of the Russian great writers, and very much interested in the contrast between generations, in between Russia and the West, and old and new. He was a liberal who came of age in the 40s, and so was not really ready for the kind of full-on leftist agitation of the liberals of the 60s, but all that and more, we'll find out. The good news is we've basically been playing Turgenev Society all along. Because it's the way we've been doing these things. The nice thing about Turgenev is he's a lot more open about some of the sexual issues than other 19th century writers. So not so much the queer stuff, but we're here to fix that. For this round, we're going to be using basically the rules from my Chekhov Society hack, which means the only way that you can get a reputation token for reals in this game is to have your secret become known. For the rest of the time, we'll be spending each other's reputation tags. And as a reminder for the players and the players at home, you can always spend your own positive reputation tag to do something. You can also spend your negative reputation tag, but then something bad will rebound on you. And also, other people can spend your negative reputation tag. So that's lovely. And just so you know, if you have a situation where you don't have a reputation tag that is appropriate or that you can spend, you can always take another negative reputation tag as you cause your will to be made upon the universe. Life is fun that way. We also have slightly different rules for the inner conflict when that comes up. I will talk about them. I have babbled enough. Let me introduce my lovely, lovely friends who have agreed once more to get sad for January. So let us start with someone I am always so happy to have at my table. I adore her. She is amazing in all these. So please, let's welcome Serafina, who's playing the lovely, charming Count Arkady Ilyich Katavasov, the Russian equivalent of cinnamon roll.
Yep, he's basically the cutest and a straight hottie. So yeah, I'm Serafina. I use she or him pronouns, and Arkady is, well, he's had a rough go before he sort of disappeared out of Russia. He was deeply in love with Princess Vera, who jilted him because she was deeply interested in his father. He then went away to school, went on his grand tour, and that grand tour lasted a long time because he refused to be in the same country as his father, and now his dad's dead, so he's coming back to Russia. Um, which thank goodness, because that guy sounds like he sucked. Um, so yeah, that's us.
I mean, yeah. I wasn't, but you probably don't know that. So that's cool.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's
fair.
even
I
that's even better.
I thought she was in love with my father. She rejected me, and I found out about the relationship.
Which
So
is gross, but actually is sort of the mirror image of a real plot from Ivan Turgenev. There you go. Remember I said he was franker about sexual things. Let us go next to my guy I'm now extremely fortunate to play with. In appropriate measure for my esteem to him. So let's just welcome Richard, my brother from another mother, who is playing the charming and somewhat ill-reputed Prince Sergei Leonidovich Zinoviev.
Hi, I'm Richard, and I am playing Prince Sergei Leonidovich Zinoviev. Seryoga to his family, Sergio to his friends. Um uh, Sergei is recently back from working as his family's agent on the continent, where he had a protege in Arkady, um, who, on coming back to see Arkady sort of take his position of as an inheritor of the Katavasov family, encountered everything he didn't like about living in Russia, which included his own father, the disreputable former colonel, and many similar aristocrats with very firm and exact opinions about how he needed to conduct his life, and has since alienated himself from his talented protege, and reacquainted himself with his longtime crush, Viktor.
Well, why don't we just go then straight to Viktor? So please, let's welcome someone that so gladly and willingly sacrifices themselves upon the altar of Hypnos in order to play Sad Russians with us. We adore him for it. Please, let's welcome Leandro, who's playing Viktor Sviatovich Volkansky.
Yeah, who is absolutely straight, as far as I know. Well, I don't know. We'll play to find out. Who's to say? Hi, yes, it's Leandro. Use he, him pronouns. By the aforementioned Viktor Sviatoslavich Volkansky. He's also he, him pronouns. Who is a frustrated of the bourgeois background. He's the head of the master of the Bellevue estate, a well-respected member of society. Basically, like you look at him and he's like, yeah, that's Russia, yeah, sure. But beneath all that, he does kind of like hide a host of worries and frustrations, and like reaching back to the path he took to where he is now. When perhaps in his youth he could have been something else, could have been, someone who did not have an estate holding him down. But that's something he bears deep down. For as far as society knows, he is a well-meaning, soft-spoken, some would say placid, some would say complacent, but all a very respectable person who loves his wife and his family and wants to make good with all of them. It's all gonna be okay.
Absolutely. These things always work out, especially for your characters. It did when you were playing against me.
Yeah, it worked. Everything worked out for my character last time. So
well, yeah, that's fair. I mean, you destroyed us all, left us freezing and dying on the snows of Russia. But on the other hand, we did have that great love story, so that happened. So let's just go to Viktor's charming spouse, who's played by Daryl, who I don't get to play with not nearly enough, considering how much I enjoy it. So please, let's welcome back Daryl, who is playing Marina Stanislavovna Volkanskaya.
Hello. My name's Daryl. My pronouns are they, them, and I am playing Marina, who is, by all accounts, a perfectly fine, upstanding, loving wife to my landed bourgeois husband, who is a perfectly fine, upstanding man, and we have a perfectly civil relationship. It's fine. Everything's fine. I matchmake for some of the girls in the county, make sure that they end up in pleasant arrangements for themselves. And I definitely don't have any secrets that I'm hiding from absolutely everyone. It's fine. Except I do have a secret. I do have a very deep, dark secret that only one other person knows. And it's that before I was married to my perfectly fine, capable, placid husband, that I was madly in love with someone else. And I let a moment of indiscretion take me away from my senses. And 9 months later, I had a daughter. And 9 months and 3 days later, I didn't have a daughter anymore. And then 12 months later, I was getting married. Everything's fine.
Yeah, this is not a bomb that we have planted to blow up in anybody's face or anything. So by some strange coincidence, that leaves it up to me. Hi, I'm Kat. I use she, her. And I'm playing the Princess Vera Petrovna Semyonovna, who, as far as she knows, is the impoverished cousin who was raised by Pyotr Semyonov as his daughter, and was adopted in his will when he died, leaving her the face of the family because her mother is a German noblewoman who is a complete disaster in society. Of course, all of this is a lie, but she doesn't know that. She certainly doesn't know about the fact that her father had someone he was passionately in love with, but it could never be. Anyway, her family's broke. They are renting an estate from the Volkansky family that they once owned but had to sell for money. But they have a great name, and she was in love with Count Arkady, but that didn't work out for reasons that everyone thinks is totally her fault. And we'll just see how that goes in play. Anyway, this is a lovely little kettle of unrequited love and dark secrets. So cool. Where shall we begin? At the novel chapter, of course. But how shall we do this novel chapter? We have Arkady coming back to Russia with Sergei. Arkady is in mourning, but I don't know how deep into mourning you are at this point. Vera is also in mourning, but she is coming out of it. She's like not even in half mourning anymore. She's basically at the end.
He's definitely going to do everything that he needs to do to be in mourning, whether or not he actually is.
Yeah, I mean, fair. So if you're in deep mourning, you wouldn't be like in society. But if you're out of deep mourning, then how long ago was it? Like a year that your dad died? Or less?
No, I think less than that. I think I got a letter and came straight home.
Okay. So yeah, you would be in deep mourning. So a ball is probably...
Yeah, ball. I mean, I wouldn't be allowed to go. But you guys could go to a ball and somebody could just visit me after or something.
We could
like,
do visits.
We could do visits.
I know, we always say that.
We could do visits.
We could do visits. We can also do the house rule of you don't have to necessarily call a visit. We just have to make sure everybody's in a scene. And then if you still have a really good idea, then let's do that by all means. But yeah, that makes total sense. So let's do that. I could totally see Sergei maybe coming to call on the Volkanskys, and perhaps Vera is there visiting as well. Would that make sense, Richard?
That seems to make sense to me.
Whether or not both the Volkanskys are there, or if it's just Marina or just Viktor.
Are we in the country or are we in the city?
I think we're probably in the country, so maybe it's like a nice spring day, like around 1863 or 4.
No. I have a great idea.
Oh, please.
Which is, you decide to call on the Volkanskys, not knowing that Vera is there. So it's just awkward as fuck.
I like that plan.
Yeah.
So the only question then is Viktor there, or is it just Sergei and Marina?
I think that's up to Viktor. Does Viktor want to, how does Viktor feel when Marina is, hosting people and being much more warm and friendly to them than she is to her husband?
Well, that I shouldn't question that. But that's just how Marina is, and I love her for that.
Oh God.
I do like the idea of Sergei and Marina like maybe meeting first before Sergei and Viktor catch up. Just
You know, we
that
could
better
have a
than-
scene where Arkady visits Viktor at whatever job Viktor has.
Hmm.
You know, because you're a young man, you need to find a career in this world, right?
Yeah, I'm down.
By job, we're talking about job for the Russian gentry, which was probably, you know, running a bank or something at a ministry.
God, I wouldn't mind being sorry, I'm looking at the chat. Yeah, probably something really boring. Yeah, like a banker, looking at
Railroad
banking
investment.
Railroad investments. Love to be a would-be tycoon.
Yes. Okay, that's canon now. All right, so
Yeah.
let's take it away, Marina and Sergei, and then I'll just bomb in because you know I'm good at that. So.
Marina and Sergei will not be awkward at all.
Well, and with Arkady in tow. Or do you want to, or are we separating them out to do?
Oh no,
revisit
Arkady in
them?
tow is great.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Cool.
what is Sergei and Marina's relationship like? So obviously I've known you for a very long time because you are best friends with my husband.
I
Do
would
we
say
have,
I think it's about as warm as the actual marriage.
Okay, wonderful.
Because
I
I
do-
won't even admit to myself that I'm jealous.
Okay.
Which there's no way that, you know, if I won't even tell myself I'm jealous, then it's very hard to deal with the jealousy.
Okay. And I think that despite all of that, I have tried my best to like win you over at some point. Yeah, so it's like I knew that you were coming, and so I've prepared like had the cook prepare like all of your favorite dishes that I had to learn from my husband. And you know, there's a very nice tea laid out, and there's all sorts of things. And I'm trying to make pleasant conversation with you about what's something that you're like really into that Marina has like gone out of her way to learn about.
I would think it's Western European spirits, cognacs,
Ooh.
Italian amaros.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's what's happening is that like she's had the butler bring in a small selection of the newest imports that we've requisitioned for the occasion, and she sets them down. It's like, yes, and this one, and she starts talking expertly about like the vintage and how it was made, and why she thinks that it will pair nicely with this particular like thing that they've brought out as well. Being the perfect hostess and being just insufferable at it. Have to try this one. It pairs so well with this particular cheese that we had brought in from France. It is absolutely delectable. I've had chef make a special loaf of bread that goes wonderfully with it as well. And your mentee, Arkady, please have some as well. It's still, I know it's still early in the afternoon, but you know, it's always nice when you come to visit, Sergei.
Well, early afternoon is when one begins drinking in Italy. Is it not, Arkady?
In my experience, one can begin drinking at any time in Italy.
I was merely thinking that it's when most of us wake up when we're in Italy.
You are not incorrect.
If people don't wake up until the afternoon, how ever do they get things done? There's so much to do every morning.
Arkady works late into the evening, much as Viktor and I did when we were young.
Yes, I know that Viktor somehow still keeps such late hours. It has been quite something to try to adapt to that over the years. Although I think that we have come to a sort of equilibrium. As you know, I'm a bit more of a morning person myself, and we find times that we can share together where we're both at our best.
Madame Volkanskaya, where is your husband?
Oh, Victor is, of course, overseeing the matters of business. You know how he is about railroading and all of the various different aspects of trains and locomotives, and he'll go on and on about coal and tracks, and sometimes it goes over my head, but he's so excited about it.
Your husband is a tycoon then? Like the great
Well-
American entrepreneurs.
Well, I wouldn't presume that we would speak of ourselves in such lofty aspirations, but he does make quite the efforts to find success and happiness in his pursuits.
Well, if he has a vested interest, I would imagine that he's quite happy at his work, which is all anyone can hope for.
Yes, I assume that he must be very happy with his work.
You assume. I must imagine that it would be difficult to maintain management of the children in the estate when you keep such opposite schedules from one another.
Oh, as I said, we make time every day to make sure that we can spend time together and check in with the children. As you know, our children are older now. They are setting themselves off into the world. Dear Lev is already trying to cut his way through the crowd of the University of Petersburg. He's doing so well, and we're so pleased with the progress that he's been making. Lies.
Lev is at university now.
Yes. We get letters weekly about his progress. It's so stunning to see him evolve and grow as he is.
What are his favorite subjects? As you know, I'm a recent graduate.
She skips a beat for sure and says he is enamored of the classics. He is just completely wrapped up in his studies of the ancient Greeks and the and she trills off a couple of things that she's crafted together for her cover story that don't really hold weight if you know what she's talking about.
Don't worry, Daryl. I'm coming to save you now.
Having
So the
just
door
left home.
flies open. Vera comes breezing in. Tante Marianne, je vous prie de m'excuser d'arriver sans annonce. Oh, Auntie, and she kisses you on your cheeks and looks. I didn't realize you had any company. Prince Sergei, and she holds out her hand.
Princess Vera.
And then she catches sight of Arkady and can't help but just go completely pale for a second.
I am blanching as well. I have gone from good humor at your brief confusion about what Lev was good at university, to, oh shit, the one thing I was told not to have happen.
Yeah, Arkady definitely jumped to his feet when she walked in the room before even realizing who she was, and is now standing there awkwardly.
I think when she just nods at you as Count Zinoviev, holds out her hand, but when you bend down to kiss it, she puts one hand on your wrist and just says, I was so sorry to hear about the death of your father.
The wrong thing to say. He stiffens over your hand and doesn't actually make contact, and then stands back up, releases it, and says, yes, I imagine you would be.
Your return to Russia is so unexpected. That's just me being foolish. Of course he would come back for the formal entombment. Am I interrupting? I'm so terribly out of place. You must forgive me.
I was
No,
going
of
to
course
take
you are not
Arkady
interrupting.
to-
He intentionally interrupts Sergei. No, of course you are not interrupting. Please sit. Regale us with what is the latest and greatest in your life.
Yes, Vera, please. And she starts loading you up with other things to distract and give you a chance to get back on your feet, as it were. Like tea and cookies and things.
You're entirely too kind, Tante Marionette. What can I say, Count Karavasov? There's nothing interesting happening in my life. We have returned to the estate here, and we are not particularly in society. We are coming out of mourning now for my father's passing, and I have few correspondence and few books to read. Viktor Sviatoslavich is most kind in allowing me to occasionally come here and play piano for him. And that is the sum total of my entertainment in society of late.
Yeah. Well, it seems we will need to have Victor join all of us so that you can play piano.
Oh, I would not inflict that upon someone as cultured as you, Prince.
I find that when one is traveling, one cannot count on musical talent at all places that have business to conduct.
Vera is, of course, raised with all of the modesty that her father instilled in her. You trust me, Prince. You will not find her piano skills lacking.
You're entirely too kind, my aunt.
No, indeed, I'm sure that she still plays beautifully.
You do me too great a compliment, sir.
He hasn't taken his eyes off of her face for even a second.
She can't help it. She's blushing now and trying to turn away, but every time she turns away, she kind of slowly tracks back, almost as if she's dragging herself against her will.
I casually interpose myself between the two of them and say, Arkady, you should try this. It reminds me strongly of the Montenegro aperitif.
He takes way too big a sip of it, more of a gulp, and then he sets the glass down on the table and walks over to, I'm just putting a piano in the room unless anybody objects, and says, do you remember when we used to compose together? And he flips the lid open on the keys and begins to play some melody from your childhood that you used to play in two parts together.
Oh, that old folk song. Yes, the old people used to sing that in the mornings. I haven't heard that in so long. We have so few servants left.
I used to play it often in the mornings when I would think of Russia and wonder what was happening here. You know, I received so few letters from my father after I left. It's amazing how the tune is so lacking when one plays on one's own. But it did make me nostalgic for home. And now I'm here, both of us in the same country.
Oh, perhaps I was envying you being in Italy and France. And she realizes what she just said and blushes again.
It would not envy me too greatly.
While this little tete-a-tete is happening, Marina leans over to Sergei and says, Prince Zinoviev, please forgive me for imposing, but you do remember the certain cloud of frustrations that your ward or your protege left under. We have worked very hard to free Vera of any kinds of assertions upon her reputation, and I'm afraid that this may bring such whispers back to the community.
Arkady.
He stops playing very abruptly and looks up at you, and you can kind of see the emotion in his eyes because he hasn't looked anyone in the face except for Vera until this moment. And he says, yes, my prince.
I think I've asked you not to ever call me my prince before.
Yeah, Yes, totally.
Also, since Russian titles are not Western European titles, I dislike the way it sounds.
Mhm.
Uh, we should not stay too long. After all, your mother asked me to return you to her use by late afternoon, and I would not put Volkanskaya out for the full day. It looks as if Princess Simonova have much to discuss, and it appears that my old friend Viktor is not at hand at the moment.
Yes, alas, it
He
is such a shame that you must leave so soon. I will be sure to let Victor know that you have come by to visit. And please, please, dear Arkasha, wish your mother well. It has been long since I have seen Clara, and I would love to stop by and visit sometime.
he very slowly, like he sucks all the air out of the room with this gesture where he very slowly stands up from the piano, gently closes the lid, and for a long moment just drags his fingers very slowly across the lid over the keys, and then turns, and his eyes are completely lost. Like there's no sense of what he's feeling in them. And he says, "Yes, it would not do to keep mother waiting." And he snaps to attention, gives a little bow, and says, "Ladies," and then just breezes out of the room.
Can I throw a monologue token at Vera?
Oh, yeah, go
jeez.
for it.
Wow, that didn't take long. Oh man. So what's the do you have a question?
I just want to know what she's thinking after, not specifically after that display, but mainly just unexpectedly seeing Arkady after all this time. Just want to know where she's at.
I think Vera watches him leave the room and she just thinks, I could strike you down to hell for the way you acted just now. How could you, Arkasha? How could you think so little of me and my love for you? If you only understood where I was and what I had to do to protect my family and to protect you, perhaps you would not be so bold. But you'll never know. You can't ever know. And I must suffer. I think that's it. It's very short. Are we closer to Petersburg or Moscow? Is a question I have.
Which one's the more modern one, like the more cosmopolitan one?
Petersburg.
Petersburg. Okay. My sister lives in Petersburg, so I assume that we're closer to there.
Okay. So, what I think would be fun for the next visit would be Clara taking Arkasha down to Victor's office, and maybe Lev is there, so we can have the two kids.
Love that.
Yep, getting on each other's nerves.
Love it. Very into it.
God. Yeah, so I think maybe then this starts at Victor's office and he's trying to tell Lev about the finer details about laying track in Siberia as opposed to Iberia. Even though one letter may separate them in language and in geography, they could not be more different. And there's quite a number of considerations one has to look after when it comes to investing on what certain companies are able to undertake such a venture. After all, in the Iberian Peninsula, it would be far less risky given the more, let's say, temperate climates there, as you'd find out west. And so one has to consider that, Lev, when it comes to apportioning. And he has like a chart and everything. Like um, he's like, there's a lot of numbers. It's incomprehensible.
Lev is slouching in a seat, looking mainly at a book while smoking.
Yeah, and Victor won't say much to that. He opened the window. I think like at some point, not breaking his power, he went to open a window but wouldn't say anything, and I think there is a point where he's like, oh, well, I suppose we've talked quite a bit about numbers.
We have not yet talked about why anyone thinks Siberia is vaguely important.
Well, that is, I suppose, a fair point. It's, should we launch into that? And Victor goes to his desk, pulls out a bunch of papers, and some maps. And I'm glad to see that you're.
Are you just going to transport the Tsar's prisoners back and forth? Is that the lead export that you're looking for?
Won't put it so delicately. He doesn't say yes, but yeah, I think that's the implication. Kind of. One takes the business that one gets. I was going.
Once people finish tramping over the ice from Japan or North America, you could pick them up in a train there.
Well, yes, absolutely. The Americans have that lovely outpost to the west of theirs, Alaska, wasn't it?
We sold that to them.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because it wasn't very interesting.
Oh my God.
Well, clearly, Americans must have found some interest in it if they'd bothered to purchase. I was going to ask Lev about, was it that exactly that you're reading what you've been doing in the university, but we can keep going on Siberia if that's what you're interested in.
Oh, it's nothing.
Sir?
He puts the tome in Latin under his chair.
Sir, the Count and Countess Katavasov are here to visit you.
Oh, well, I think you just look at this diary. It's like, oh yeah, shit, that was meant to be out today. Oh, please, do let them in.
Now, Arkasha, I know that you don't really think much of Viktor Sviatoslavich, but he's a very important man in Petersburg. And you need to be aware of your career, since you can't expect to just bound across Italy and France wearing a large shirt and betting opera stars or whatever it is you were trying to get yourself up to on the continent there.
So while they're standing out in the waiting room and assuming the secretary has gone to fetch them, he leans over and kisses his mother on the temple and says, "Mother, I am not going anywhere."
Well, we're going into the office now. Come.
We're going into the office, but I'm not going to Italy. Like, they're sort of like bickering quietly.
So, Clara Sergeyevna wears her mourning extremely well. It's almost as if she spent a lot of money to look extremely good as a widow.
That tracks.
Yeah. Viktor Sviatoslavich, it is so kind of you to have made time for me and my son to drop by. We're just in town to speak with the Metropolitan. As you know, we have to entomb my poor dear Ilya. Dear Arakady was not here for the panachida, but he can be here for the formal entombment now that winter is over and we can finally bury him on his family's plot. But
Yes,
here I am
indeed,
talking about all our troubles.
As soon as she comes, he says, Yes, indeed, we can finally bury him. And he reaches out and shakes Victor's hand. It is very good to meet you, sir. Again.
It is very good to see you once more, young Arkady. And I do know, to an extent, what it's like to not be with one's loved ones and their passing, but it is always good to have a formal way of saying goodbye, and I'm glad you have been afforded that.
Indeed, I am
Count-
very grateful to be able to say goodbye formally.
Lev,
have you met my son, Lev?
Lev is a radically different person than he was only a few moments ago. Count Katavasov, it is an honor to make your acquaintance. Again, we met when I was much younger.
Well, so was I. And he shakes his hand and says, I understand you're interested in the classics, your mother told me.
Yes, I had hoped to return to my tour. But as my father likes to remind me, Iberia is far from Siberia.
Well, that is true.
I understand that you recently returned from Italy.
Just this week.
And Greece?
Greece, France. Brief moment in London.
I had hoped to consider occupation on the continent.
But it was not to be.
I am not finished with university yet. I do think studying in Paris would certainly help my business prospects.
Well, the more connections a man has, the more luck he has, I find.
I do hope so.
But your father has many connections, does he not?
I think Victor, who is used to like shrinking back when there's like a crowd, can like jolt up and says, "Well, yes, absolutely. One needs to be quite connected when one wants to do well in this line of business, or in fact any line of business. I'm sure. We're quite well disposed in terms of knowing who's to know, not just here in Russia, but in quite far from parts of the world. In fact, as far as Siberia, from Siberia to Iberia."
He smiles indulgently at his mother and says, I understand there's some gold mining prospects in Siberia at the moment. Are you involved in any of that?
Lev looks like he's suppressing the need to roll his eyes.
Viktor Sviatoslavich, can you not see that these two children have become already good friends? Why don't we allow them to go and explore Petersburg for the afternoon, and I can speak to you of a few matters of business and without occupying our children with the boring affairs of their elders.
That sounds like a wonderful idea, Countess Sergeyevna. I'm sure youth will better flower than to spend more than a few hours in these offices. I'm sure, Lev, you will be able to show dear Count
Of course,
ins and outs of the city.
Father. He pauses because he's supposed to like address you politely in front of company. And he almost forgot.
I kiss Arkasha on the cheeks and just mutter in his ears, "Sois respectable, mon fils."
Yes, mother. Come show me what's changed.
When they
There's a long rambling dialogue down the stairs.
Oh yeah, they just chaos out the door.
I think we can cut back to them, but meanwhile, as soon as they're gone, I turn back to Victor. Victor Sviatoslavich, I have heard it said that you're allowing the Semyonovs to stay on your land.
Well, I suppose it's not a it's not something we keep hidden. Yes, that is quite accurate.
I can understand you taking pity on that child, but don't you think they're not really respectable society? I mean,
I suppose.
how could you bear to have that ogre of a woman over at your place? That Maria Ivanovna.
Well, I've always thought of Maria as perhaps a bit of an acquired taste. It is. I understand that.
I make it a
There
habit
are-
not to acquire the taste for anything German.
Well, um, unfortunately, in my position, one must learn to acquire certain tastes if one wants to.
Yes. I'm sure Prussia supplies the steel or whatever it is.
That is. I'm sorry to say that is perhaps the way of my business, Countess, and it yes, I suppose letting them stay is carried by more than a bit of pity on my part, but I suppose what one gains from such an arrangement is perhaps something a bit beyond society's tastes.
Monsieur Volkonsky, I don't know what else to say except it's very difficult for my son to be with someone who so cruelly rejected him. I am attempting to find not only a career for my dear Akasha, but a match.
Well, I completely understand. It was quite a history between them and Princess Vera, and
Princess.
I would. The title still stands, Countess.
I could hardly call it the blood of Rurik.
I think, Victor, nervous chuckle. Like, should I be laughing at that? I guess.
Let me tell you, I had the pleasure of knowing pleasure for certain rather insignificant amounts of pleasure to know the late Pyotr Semyonov, and far be it for me to speak ill of the dead, nihil bonum. But that man was the most eccentric of eccentrics. Do you know that one of the reasons that his family is left in such poor straits is because immediately after the emancipation, he turned over 75% of his estates to his serfs? I mean, I am a woman of liberal means. I made sure that the settlement with our serfs was excellent and very favorable to them, but there are limits, I think. It seems excessive. Everything Pyotr did was excessive. He allowed that ward of his to grow up wild and then gave her his name and in his will. What's the justice in that?
Well, if I could do anything to soothe your worries, Countess, perhaps. I think Victor is just kind of like what the Countess is saying. Well, after all, my wife is quite a wonderful matchmaker. If it would suit you to have dear Vera perhaps paired off in such a way that it would not distract your dear son, perhaps that could be arranged.
If your lady wife could accomplish that effect, then she would surely be one of the great miracle workers and saints of the Orthodox Church. No, my dear. I am here merely to say that I think it would be best to encourage the friendship of our two children. After all, they're both young gentlemen. I think Arkasha could be a good influence on him, and Lev would certainly grant you contacts and place in society that you have. Yes. And I will speak to your lady wife about doing something about Arkasha, perhaps. I fear Vera is a lost cause, but she has no one to blame in that matter but herself. Or so I've heard. One hears such scurrilous things. I have wasted enough of your time. I cannot keep the Metropolitan waiting any longer. Viktor Sviatoslavich, you are the most kind and generous of hosts.
I'm flattered to hear you say so, Countess. I know your estimation is quite prized.
I think with that, she'll bustle out. Do we want to see the two kids?
I mean, I'm down, but I also am down to like move main characters forward.
Yeah.
We can just say they have a respectfully rakish afternoon. Like they don't do anything untoward, but they're definitely young men on the town who are unmarried.
With yeah, I think Lev definitely complaining about his father quite openly.
Actually, isn't Lev wearing his school uniform? Russians were crazy about uniforms, yo.
They were, yeah.
And this is me getting a phone call. 1 second.
Should
Sorry.
we have a scene, Arkasha? I don't know. I mean, is it too early? Or
With Vera?
yeah, I don't
I
know.
think I might leave it. I might let it bubble a little more.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, if Vera wanted to have a conversation with Marina.
Oh my God,
I think
yes.
it's a great idea. Yeah, I think the debrief is going to be ridiculous. Let's watch that.
I don't think it's the same day. I think Vera had to leave pretty quickly after that. Like, too much emotions. Go.
Gotta go cry. Gotta go cry.
Maybe you specifically invited her over for tea or something.
Probably, or maybe we've gone to like at the museum or something and like to walk the galleries or something.
A day of shopping on the Nevsky Prospect.
Mhm.
I like that, yes. So we're in Petersburg in the bustle. Maybe we found a little tea house to sit and have thé anglaise.
So, yeah, that's perfect. And then settles down and probably fans herself and says, "Oh, and every year it gets more and more strenuous to shop with you, dear. You always leave me so out of breath."
I fear, Marina Stanislavna, that I can mostly look and not purchase currently.
What?
I would gladly take the offers of credit that are extended to me frequently, but I fear that the princess might find out about them, and then we would be in worse straits than we are now.
Nonsense, my dear. Do not ever take a line of credit from anyone that you do not know and would have dinner with. Which is exactly why I'm going to make sure that you get at least one of those dresses, because that's the other thing too. All of this new fashion nowadays, it's far too trendy. You won't use it again and again. You need something reliable, something refined. And that's why that velvet dress that we found, that one shall be yours.
Oh, Auntie, you're far too kind to me. It will be a relief to have something new to wear now that I am almost out of mourning. If I have anywhere to wear it to.
We shall find you a wonderful party to reintegrate into society. We have been working very hard to smooth things over with the various families in the county. I'm sure it will be fine. And as you know, your aunt, my sister Raisa, is very much looking forward to taking you out and about and introducing you to a number of people here in Petersburg.
Yes, that would be very kind of her. It has been a hard few years, Auntie.
Yes, the loss of your father has shaken this community very deeply. As you know, he was a close friend of mine in childhood, and I still think fondly of all the adventures that Pyotr and I had.
I've often meant to ask you about your time growing up, but I don't know. My mother doesn't like you. I'm afraid I'm speaking out of turn, but you know that she doesn't. I don't
My
really know
dear, very few
why.
people like your mother either. It's nothing personal.
Calling her my mother still feels strange to me. My father insisted I do so on his deathbed. I would not call down his curse upon me, as the old people like to say, and she kind of very fancifully crosses herself.
Your father was a very good man, and you should listen to him. He's done far more in this world than you'll ever know.
I don't know much about my parents, my birth parents, just that they died when I was very young. I don't remember them at all. Oh, well.
Can I spend a monologue token in the middle of this conversation?
On Marina?
Yes.
I absolutely think that is lovely.
I do not want to interrupt, but I also absolutely have to know two things. One, have they had conversations about her parents before now? And like her family and her childhood, her growing up, whatever. And two, how does she compartmentalize, or is she just like ripped up inside every time they do this? Is she dissociated? Like, what's going on inside of her right now?
Okay. So yeah, at the mention of like, I didn't know my parents and they died very young, I think that like Marina is like raising the teacup to her lips and like stops just before it touches her lips. And then she sets it down, and then like cinematically, it's almost as if like the color kind of like drains out of the scene. And she just like, and there's this like heavy feeling in the air, like storm clouds kind of thing. And he says, your parents that you've known all your life, but that were never worth knowing. There was no way that you could possibly have known them. And there's no way that you should. This is as good as it's going to get this far, and it's only going to get better for you. You should never, ever ask about them. I've told you so many times never to ask about them. It worked when you were young. I could shame you into it. I could make you stop. Now you're a strong and clear-headed woman, as you were always meant to be, but it is thorny in ways that I do not like. I will have to find some way to prune this out of you. I will find some way to make it so that you will bloom beautifully in exactly the right garden, in exactly the right place, and you will never have to wonder where the seeds came from. And she sets the teacup down, and she says, dear, I'm sure that your parents always wanted the best for you, and in the end, you ended up in the best possible place you could be. Well, I mean, aside from your mother, as it were.
I wish I could share your opinion there, my aunt, but it was very difficult to see the Count again.
Yes, well, that was certainly a surprise, wasn't it?
Not a welcome one either.
No, it certainly was not. And I do apologize that that happened to you in my home. If I had known that you were going to arrive early, I would have made sure to have had them leave before you had arrived.
No, it's truly my fault. I did not I suppose I should excuse him, for he is still, of course, in mourning, but I did not expect him to be so cold.
It is the lot of someone that young to be cold and tempestuous. Did you see the way he was carrying on? It's absolutely childish. I'm so glad that you have outgrown such fancies.
Yes, I mean, obviously it could never be.
Of course it could never be, dear.
Staring into space.
There are, but listen, let's not dwell too much on such unpleasantries. And say, that dear boy, that dear Arkady Ilyich, will continue along his path, and he will weave a path of destruction where he goes until he finally realizes what it's like to be a man. You, however, are already charting a course to to brighter and better futures.
Yes, Tante Marinette. I suppose you're right. You're so kind.
She reaches over and puts her hands on yours and says, "Hmm, what about 2 dresses?"
Here. I think that's it. That's a good place to cut.
That's totally the scene. That was so good.
You know, what we could see to wind up this novel chapter is we haven't seen Viktor and Sergei.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's see Sergei and Viktor.
Yeah. Do you have an idea of where this could be? This could be just like a second visit to this state, or maybe.
Yeah, I think this time I did not try to bring Arkady.
Maybe in the next room over, Vera is playing piano.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Viktor is handing you a drink as he says, "I'm sorry I wasn't there last time you dropped by, Sergio. It sounded like quite a scene."
I take it there's some history between young Arkady and the Princess Vera.
Well, if one can call a certain kind of scorched earth history, then quite a bit of scorched earth.
Arkady, would you ever have mentioned anything to me about?
Mm-mm. I think if Arkady said anything, it was, I thought she felt differently about me, but oh well.
One would think that with such a conflagration left behind him, it would have come up in his conversation more often.
Well, I suppose your young charge was burned so fiercely that, well, one tends to keep those hurts hidden, so to speak. You've certainly picked up quite a charge in this young count of yours.
He is quite the head for business. If I were not planning to offer him a position, with my father's approval, I would have recommended him to you.
He's certainly made an impression with my son. They seem to get on quite well, and I suppose I wasn't here when the looks over at where the music's come from when the conflagration happened. So
I had lost track of Love's age. I did not realize he was at university.
yes, I suppose you haven't. It's been some time since you've seen him. And, well, it's been some time since you've seen us as a whole, but with the youth, when time tends to leapfrog quite a bit, and one day they're climbing up trees and tossing pine cones at you to make sure that you stay away so that you can't fetch them for dinner. The other day they're debating you on the ethics of business in their own way. It's
Debating you? He used to hang on everything you said.
I think Victor's just wants to say, "Oh, he did, didn't he?" But he has to swallow that by taking a sip. Wow. Well, one thing's broadened when one gets out. When one gets a taste of outside of home. I surely you wouldn't characterize yourself as someone who hung on to your father's every word.
I lack certain virtues in a father that Lev has in his.
Well,
I hope he appreciates that you are a good bit wiser than the average father in the neighborhood. But I am profoundly bored with my own family. Please, just... How are you? Really? No.
I don't know, it seems foolish to complain. After all, you've been so busy and you've been out and about in the world. Surely problems of one single estate owner over here back in Russia shouldn't trouble you so much.
I'm not friends with most of the people that I do business with. I am friends with you.
I think Viktor takes another long sip. Well, I certainly cherish our friendship, Sergio. I suppose if one carries worries, one tends to be afraid of speaking them out, for surely they will just come true.
I am very worried that I will find an attractive lover, deeply troubled and afraid that all of my business prospects will come to fruition, and that I will become insanely wealthy and perhaps slightly happy. It's the fear that keeps me up at night. There, I've said it. It might come true.
Victor has to laugh. It's just... Sure, you could have aimed for more than slightly happy.
I am the younger son of a Russian aristocrat. Slightly happy is as good as... Well, I am the younger son of a Russian aristocrat. Don't have to bear the angst and banality of being the oldest son, and I do get to live abroad. So slightly happy is for my family looking quite up. So, what are you afraid is going to come true?
I think Victor pour another glass and pour himself another glass because he just finished off his. Well, given you've been so cavalier with your own worries, I suppose it'd be churlish of me not to be cavalier myself. I'm quite worried about, well, where should we even start? I'm quite worried about a lot of things, but first, I'm worried about my wife.
Is Marina, is she unwell?
If only I could know, Sergio. We've been married for quite some time, and I've always loved her and how she she reins in the world around her, lest things fall out of control. And yet within that control, well, there's perhaps, I think like Victor is trying to like search for like the words because he's essentially like monologuing out loud, and it's like this is the first time he's crystallized these words into like these thoughts to words. I wonder though if within that control was there ever anything that she has for me as anything like what I have for her.
You really love her.
I of her, I cherish her, I'm in awe of her, Sergio. I'm aghast at how she moves around the world.
Aghast?
Aghast in a God-fearing sense, I suppose. Is that love or is that worship? I'm not sure.
This is why all the aristocrats are frightened to death of the bourgeoisie. You actually love your wives. It's like everything you said at the altar you actually meant.
I suppose living with one's life on their sleeve can be torturous, but, well, I know of no other way to live.
And here I thought you were a business person. Do you tell the railroad workers that everything you actually think? I'm teasing you.
Honestly, I barely even see them. I suppose it's easier to keep one sleeve when, well, workers are numbers, but I'd like to think that what I do in business I keep separate from what I do here. Maybe people I know in business become friends, but, well, a certain kind of separation, I believe, would soothe people better.
Have you told Marina you're worried about her?
Oh, if only I could. I'm speaking of the word to the world, I suppose. I'm worried that if I do speak such a word to Marina, well, it would not penetrate through that control of hers. I think, like, having said that, Victor kind of like feels a certain kind of energy leave him, and he almost kind of like slumps in his chair, and he kind of like has to laugh and say, "Wow, Sergio, I do believe you have unmanned me at this. I don't believe I've said any and all of the things I've said to anyone but yourself."
You almost make me regret that I need to check my watch for the time. But I do.
By all means.
Do you... I would like to continue this conversation sometime soon. I have to sting you. Do need to pay my respects to my own family as well as the Count's. If I am to kidnap and employ their son, give him a scandalous career life, working with money.
Well, they would have the joy of your company, as I do now. I do apologize. We've had ample time together, and I've mostly wasted it unloading a bucket of cold sweat upon your lap. We'll have to speak some more. You'll have to tell me about everything else you've been to. For myself, those countries only exist as numbers at the moment, but I'm sure you'll be able to get in such life.
You should travel, and we can discuss that at a future date. I am so sorry to have to leave. Please give Marina my deepest apologies for sliding out without giving her a proper goodbye.
Of course. We'll talk soon.
If you are free tomorrow, I can come by. I have some professional questions I could ask you.
I think normally I think Viktor would do look at his diary and just see if he's busy, but no, I think he'll just say, "Well, of course, I'm trying to make time." I do want to apologize. I was not there when you first came over, but there'll be time tomorrow.
I do not think you need to apologize. Perhaps ever again. At least to me. We'll see you tomorrow then.
And Sergei runs away.
Let's leave that novel chapter before it destroys us.
Yeah, we're all dead now.
Reputation, huzzah. I don't think I did enough to either be good or bad. I
Yeah,
came
let's see.
close by letting you walk all over me like that.
Yeah, you straight up did.
Yeah, I totally did. But I don't think that's enough.
But it was in private, so not like I disgraced you at a ball, but that will come
That
eventually.
doesn't matter. The servants see everything.
That's true.
I do think I obeyed society's conventions by dragging Arkady away. That was a hardship, a little bit. I don't know. I don't love the word hardship.
Yeah, I can totally do that.
I think I allowed myself to be dragged away when really what I wanted to do was take out my anger more on this person who scorned me. So I'm going to go ahead and take a positive reputation tag.
Well, if you're going to do that, then...
Yeah, you definitely deserve one.
Dignified's not the right word. Restrained.
There it is. I took controlled, so we're both doing really well.
We're marching in parallel here.
Yep.
I mean, Marina has just been doing such a great job of, navigating these fraught social waters and making sure that everyone's fine, even at personal pains to herself. So she's being very beneficent lately.
I believe
that is accurate.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, Viktor, you see, he just, oh man.
Well, you did kind of secure a personal invitation from someone of a higher social status than yourself.
That's true.
Yeah, that is true.
Clara's like, lady, our children run around together. Nothing bad can happen from that.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, that could do with companionship, sure.
Start working on the questions and secrets here. These are good.
Oh yeah.
Let's think about what questions have come out of all this mess. I think
I'm very curious if Arkady can forgive Vera.
thinking, what exactly will the relationship between Arkady and Lev be?
I'm very curious about that.
Yes.
I also want to know.
I'm just going to put this here so that people think about it. How long can Vera hold on to her secret?
Yeah. And I want to know if the truth about Marina's past will be revealed.
Oh, yeah.
So actually, I'm going to replace that one because I'm going to say, how will Marina navigate the fallout when Vera discovers her true parentage?
Much
That's
better,
good. I'm
yes.
going to that too.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. But how will it go?
Yes, I prefer much better
Oh.
leading questions.
Can Marina turn Viktor's love? I'm like really curious whether Marina is capable of loving another person at this point.
Do you have a secret yet, Arkady?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Marina has an undying love. It's just for Vera.
Thanks, Auntie. Auntie Mom. And you kind of are the anti-mom.
I will see her happy no matter how unhappy it makes her.
Isn't that some parents? That's just some parents.
Yeah, no, that totally tracks.
I don't know. If anybody wants to help me with a secret for Arkady, let me know. Do we have a secret for Viktor yet?
No, it's like, does he have secrets?
Oh no, he does.
As a reminder, secrets are player knowledge, so if you need to reveal them in a scene, we'll always figure out a way that could have happened.
Yeah.
They work a little better in the more dramatic Chekhov Society version, but they'll work just fine here.
What about because you have something in there about like what Viktor wanted to be in his youth.
Yeah.
What did Viktor want to be in his youth?
What did he want to be?
And did he take steps toward it?
There's probably something artistic. Nothing to do with business for sure.
Did he want to be like an opera singer or something?
Oh my god, that would be.
He's got such an emotional life. Was he a poet
or a painter?
Did he publish things?
Yeah, I think I was slightly going away from writing because we did that. We had a secret writer.
Maybe a painter, like you did your Wanderjahr in Florence, and you just hung around painting constantly, and then you had to come home, and the family's like, "Yeah, we could afford to send you to Italy for a year."
Yeah.
God.
Now it's time for you to repay the family for everything we've done for you.
Yeah, gosh.
If you want, we can make it that you secretly paint in your office and then you sell things under a pseudonym.
Yeah, that was another thing as well. Like, there's like Viktor has like a pseudo-anonymous series of paintings in Petersburg.
We could just say like Viktor has a secret artistic life, and then decide what the art is later.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. You can think about Arkady's secret. We have just enough time, so what happens in 19th century Russia?
No idea.
We write letters.
Son of a bitch.
So if we keep these a little punchy, we can probably clear the epistolary chapter and then dive right into a novel next time. That's amazing for us.
I mean, I believed in us this whole time.
I have my first letter.
Oh, go ahead, do it.
From Sergei, Prince Zinoviev, to Count Katavasov.
Oh boy. Daddy's mad.
I hope you will forgive my impudence the other day, but I believe you have the maturity to understand and know that it is damaging to both yourself and to the Princess Vera if the two of you are too familiar. I know that, or understand, several lines are crossed out here, like just scratched out massively. I understand that the two of you have had some history before you began to travel, and I hope you will be able to set that aside and move past it. But it is still, in such a small place as this, the talk of the community. If you would be so kind as to accept my advice, I think it is best if you are polite but distant from her while we remain in Russia. I know there is some months yet while you need to be in official mourning, but should you need me to expedite our departure, I will make arrangements to do that. I understand that being in such proximity to one with whom you have such history is at times trying and at times exhausting. And I hope you will consider me not only a potential employer but a confidant. Yours truly, Sergio.
All right, I have a letter. From Count Arkady Ilyich Karavasov to letter to my dead dad. And it can be decided later whether or not this is ever found by anyone or given to particular people or whatever. Father, I write you with the deepest sincerity and implore you to cease and desist your attempts to manipulate me into returning to Russia. You continue to tell me that I was only a child and only had access to the love of a child when these events transpired, but know that I cannot forgive you because although you saw me as such, I very much felt and feel as a young man does. You stole the woman from me who I had hoped to marry. You defiled the bed of my mother, whether in thought or in deed. You brought dishonor and disgrace upon our home and our name, whether or not society ever found out about your ill deeds. The act still exists in the eyes of God the Father, and thus in the eyes of me, your son. I will not return to Russia until I have been sufficiently assured that your character has undergone some miraculous reconstitution in the eyes of moral and civil society, and indeed in the eyes of the divine. As it is, your attempts to bully me fall upon the ears of a deaf man. I remain the carrier of your name and will do what is necessary, as is my duty, to our forefathers and to my country, should the need arise, but you will never see my face again. Respectfully, Arkady.
I'll follow that one.
Yeah, feel free.
So, dear Victor, the maid that we hired 3 weeks ago is not working out. We will need to let her go. She has not been sufficient, and I am fairly sure one of my brooches is missing. Please remember that Vera's party is happening in approximately 2 months. There is a number of preparations that we must make in order to reintroduce her to society. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I hope you are as well. I would like to bring to your attention Sergei's cognacs. I have been rather exorbitant in my attempts to please your friend, and they seem to have fallen on deaf ears. If there is some sort of other alcohol that I might procure so that he can find himself at ease in our home, I would appreciate the information. Please be aware that Vadim Ilyich, one of the farmers on our land, has complained that the roof needs rethatching again. We just did that 2 years ago, and I think that he's probably trying to rake us over a barrel. Remember that you have your tailoring fitting on Tuesday. because we will need to prepare for dinner. And while we are having that dinner, or just after, I would like to discuss Lev's school fees, as well as the 3 disciplinary notices that we have received. This is something that we really must nip in the bud, because it is, quite frankly, becoming rather frustrating to be paying so much money for an education that he seems very willing to throw away. Speaking of Lev, I would very much appreciate it if you could make sure that he does not spend time with Arkady Ilyevich. That boy is trouble, and I will not have him sullying our son's reputation any more than our son already sullies it. Please be aware that the investors' dinner for your various new ventures will be happening in 3 weeks' time, and that Kirill Romanovich will be joining us and staying for approximately 3 weeks. This visit is very important because I would love to set him up with Vera and make a positive match there. Also, please be aware that they believe that we will be seeing storms for the next few days, so I would appreciate it if you would wear your galoshes and travel safely. Vera.
Oh my God, I have a letter. I'm never going to recover from everything that just happened. I have a letter. It
You
is
have a letter?
from. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Unless somebody really needs to go first, but I feel like I need to follow that. With a letter from Raisa Stanislavovna Yashvina, Raya, to my dear sister, Marina. Darling, it has been many weeks since we last saw each other, and yet I am sure that you can hear my voice ringing in your ears when I say to you that you need to get out of that house. There are periods after each of those phrases. I have not seen you smile in a way that reaches your eyes since the day you were married, and perhaps even further back than that. The man that you are married to appears to be an absolute dear, and yet you show him not the slightest ounce of confidence. You run your entire life, my darling, as if it were a science textbook, and I do believe that it was your most hated subject at school. The flowers are coming in well, and I believe that it would do you good to see them, as it would do you good to leave that house anytime in the near future. You have an open invitation anytime you like to come and visit. I have open box seats to several plays that would all require you to leave the house. You may feel free to bring the children as they may play with mine. But what I would really like for you, my darling, my dearest, the soul of my life, the cream in my coffee each morning, and the French lilt of a gorgeous soprano in my evenings, is for you to leave the house. I remain yours in faith, truth, and the hope that you will go outside, your loving sister.
I'd like to continue this chain. So, from the Princess Vera Petrovna Semyonovna, who Madame Raisa Yashvina, in French, elegantly written. My dear Madame Yashvina, your sister has most kindly spoken to me of your offer to put up my mother and myself in Petersburg over the winter, which will spare us the expense of maintaining and heating our own quarters in Petersburg. I cannot help but feel almost prostrated before your generosity. If your sister speaks so kindly of you, and she is so kind to me, that I cannot but hope that you and I shall be the most respectful and good friends. A word about my mother. Much of what you may have heard is not particularly true. Some of what you have heard is perhaps not exaggerated to the full extent of the truth. However, I am bringing our own servants and have found ways to economize such small luxuries as maintain her in a good attitude. This will be my first season back in Petersburg since the end of my mourning. I greatly appreciate the pains that you are offering to take for me. It seems like there's a gap where there should be something, and instead she just winds it up. Yours most respectfully, I remain yours, Madame, with the greatest compliment, greatest respects and sentiment, Princess Semyonova.
I think I have one letter. It is to Count Arkady Ilyich Katavasov. It is from Miss Maria Ivanova, Semyonova. Count Katavasov, I see you have deigned to set foot upon the soil that gave birth to you once more. Though the circumstances may be rough, parentheses, commiserations to your father, parentheses. Let me tell you that if you would so direct your nose in the direction of my dear Vera, that you will find yourself plunged into a hell so freezing that you would think Russia was Spain. I would die before let Vera be a Katavaso when she should certainly be a von Alvensleben. Though I would rather you die first before I do. Yours. But yeah, she signs that. Yeah.
How dare!
Oh, the meddling parents in this particular game.
Fathers and children. Serafina has gone twice. Daryl has gone twice? No, once. Richard has gone once. I have gone once. Cool. So we've all gone once except you, Serafina. You bucked yourself in. Now we can talk about you. To the Prince Sergei Leonidovich Zinoviev from the Princess Vera Petrovna Semyonovna. Dear Sir, in happier days, I had the chance to make your acquaintance, though I feel that I was never as close to you as I would have preferred. You are a good and honest man, upright and well respected and respectable. I write to you primarily to thank you, for I know that you had kindness in your heart when you saw the unexpected scene, which of course was totally of my own making at Madame Volskinskaya's. But I also write to tell you because, and perhaps I am being too frank here, I see graved upon your face that kindness that can only come from suffering. And whatever your suffering is, I recognize a kindred kindness in your face. So I risk all by saying to you and counting on that kindness. Only this. The circumstances that are believed by all, including Arkady, of the end of our courtship are not as they have been represented. More I cannot say without betraying confidences and exposing my own reputation even further. But I do not ask you to do anything in exchange for this information. I have no hope whatsoever. Hope was something that was killed in me. But only that I wish some other person in this world to have some small belief that I would not have things be as they are. I do not ask you to share this information. I beg you not to speak of it to Arkady. And yet, sir, I feel that if I did not say at least one small word once in my own defense, I should surely go to hell, the most miserable of women. Yours, abjectly, most respectfully, and in the hope that these sentiments will not be offensive, Princess Vera.
To Prince Sergei Leonidovich Zinoviev, from your father, Leonid Ivanovich Zinoviev. My dear son, for the love of God and country, though I know you disdain both, please find yourself a wife. I do not care if you, so long as you make yourself an honest man, I do not care if you are a dishonest man anywhere else. It is far beyond the time where you should have settled down and given me grandchildren. Your other siblings have done so. Many other of your not siblings have done so. And yet still here we are with you frolicking. I'm so disappointed in the frolicking. That is truly the thing that I wish you would address. Simply marry and do as you will. As long as you do not marry, you do not inherit. I know that though I have outlived many of my friends and enemies, I do not expect that I shall somehow swindle my way to immortality. If I were to pass before you are married, you shall be a penniless wastrel, which is not terribly different from what you're doing now, but it doesn't have to be that way. Now, please find a wife. Your father.
No one in the family besides Marina knows about the Marina Vera connection, right?
And my sister.
Right. To my dearest father, please find enclosed one sealed letter for mother, and this one for you. Per mother's request, I am applying myself to the rigorous discipline set forth by Professor Svetlov, and thus am not at home per her request. However, I would like to discuss your ideas that we last talked about, and something I have brought up before, namely travel on the European continent, as opposed to traveling further past the Caucasus and into Asia. You know that I am very much desiring a proper tour, such as the one my dear friend, Count Arkady, has recently completed and hopes to possibly one day return to. I certainly hope. In return, I will make good use of my travel and time abroad while on leave from my studies, perhaps making connections in more fruitful and promising parts of the world. Europe and the Americas. It would be good for a member of our family to have established some presence in the burgeoning metropolis of New York. He is merely echoing things that people have, like he is literally just picked up off the street in Petersburg. He has no clue what's going on in the larger world. Also, I will support Mother's wishes that I pursue a formal engagement. And perhaps, with your kind permission, should do so locally, perhaps with Princess Vera, who I do believe is is in need of prospects, and would bring a title to our family, or connections to a title to our family. I trust you will discuss this with me when I return next week with discretion and the regard that a father should have for a man who is no longer a boy. Sincerely, Lev. And he's got this on university stationery, and
No, this is gonna go really well. I'm really into it. It's so good. Cat's face.
I told you it was more appalling.
That was good. That was good.
No, it's
Uh,
good. It's great.
I
No,
believe
it's fine.
Leandro has a letter if you want to use it.
Yeah, I don't know have anything like that. And
Feel free to just drop bombs from orbit.
We've got 4 sessions. We need to wipe out
Yeah.
Russia in this 4 sessions.
yeah. Yeah, I think Victor's not the bomb dropping type. He gets bombs dropped on him. That's his role in this story. Yeah, I don't have anything else. Maybe I'll just kind of summarize. I think he leaves a short note for Vera after like maybe she's done playing. And he has to retire. It's just a short note detailing, how much he appreciates her presence here. And he doesn't want to say that the Countess has been talking shit about her, but he just says like, no matter what society may believe, you've been quite a dear to us and to this household, and I would not want I don't want you to feel that anything would deter you from coming here. You've been almost like a daughter to Marina, and she certainly comes to life within your presence, and I thank you for that. And that's a short note, and yeah, it's a lot of things Victor doesn't say out loud, but we'll just write down in a note.
Yeah, well,
I feel like the audience watched that letter go across their screen and was like, did he just what?
Yep. So, yes,
He said the quiet part very loud just then.
Richard is correct. We do have to hit the ground running on this one. We only got the 4 sessions. We can't Netflix our way to the ending here with like 3 episodes where nothing happens.
Gerald, the publisher, keeps throwing the manuscript down saying this is too much. These people can't possibly be like this.
Have you read 19th century literature?
I've actually been thinking about nothing except for there's like 2 letters in Dracula that are like Miss Mina Harker to Lucy Westenra, unopened by her because she's already dead.
Oh
Like-
God, yeah, yep. So next week we'll revisit these poor sad people.
These poor sons of bitches.
I have an idea for a ball, perhaps at a maybe not a German embassy, but a place with a lot of German expats. Because
I think my
that would be
character might
horrifying.
be too scared of the Germans to go.
Oh, I think we can find a way to make Arkasha come,
Oh no, I think we can make it. We can make it happen.
but we'll see.
We could say that she's going to be there with any other man.
We'll just figure this all out next time.
Sure, it's going to
My God, this was lovely. You guys, wow, it's like no time has passed.
We came out of the gates ready to kill each other.
Yeah, wow. This is not bad for not starting Kurgan seriously till an hour before the game.
I don't understand.
I cannot say how much I enjoy this. It's just impossible for me to say. Thank you guys so very much. Until next time, do svidaniya.
Recording is on.
I hate it.
I know, isn't it great?
It's even more cursed than before.
Yep. Hang on a sec. Leaving the
Victor's-
world more fabulous. She goes.
Yeah, and Victor just kind of like sits down, it's like, yeah.
I'm completely
Cancel
obsessed
by
with
3 o'clock.
Cancel. I have to take a nap.
Um,
Am I drinking laudanum just like every day at this point?
Very learned, very probably very gay, but definitely wants the white wedding. So also mainly because I'm like, who's gonna play him? Is it gonna be Leandro? Is it gonna be Richard? Because Fina cannot romance you twice.
Stranger Things, but yeah. I mean, I just spent an entire scene character assassinating my own main character. My God, the flop sweat coming off that conversation.
The tension.
And in musical, this is one of you is doing the big "What is this feeling I have" song.
I don't know. Once you pass 35, it's like, what is this feeling I've got? Oh, yeah, again.
There's a little theater that I've heard of.
That's in the future.
Yeah.
It's in their future, but it's in our past.
That's fair.
Mhm.
Temporal
I mean,
compromise.
what was my dad's name? Did we come up with one?
Surely, after so much time, you can recognize what your father's name was. Ilya.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's Ilya, right? Sorry, I forget that the patronymic is like a real thing. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. Scene.
Okay, calling it. It's gonna be Vera and Sergei get married in some horrifying.
The frogging. It was the pause.